100% of everything.
Make anti-black jokes? Can you make anti-Muslim jokes? Can you make, and if you believe yes, you can make jokes against all different communities, then the Jews shouldn't be any different.
He says some pretty offensive things about black people. I know that he understands the thing is there's a big difference between having a joke and having like a disgusting opinion about black people. Yeah, like and when you genuinely, because I don't believe any of this JQ rule the world nonsense. I think it's just stupid. It's just you guys got thrown in the water and you swam. That's a Jewish question. Sorry, I don't. That's my opinion on Jews. But like, I think, and it's about like
I think the whole thing which is interesting for Jewish people, when people discuss Christians, they discuss the Trinity, they discuss the principles of faith. When it comes to Jews, they don't talk about our religion, they talk about the global money supply, the Holocaust. It's like nobody knows anything about the Jewish people.
That's because of South Park and Family Guy. They've put this into us, and it was a joke, and then and all of a sudden Pittsburgh happened, and it was like, oh shit!
With the greatest respect, I don't think Pittsburgh happened because of South Park. No, I think it's that's
your point, Tiger. Last night, this guy.
That was when we realised it wasn't a joke. I mean, because
Tiger last night when this guy gave up with the white nationalism, with the Jew hatred, he ran out of things to argue. So he then turned and said, "Oh, you're a Christian, are you? Let me tell you how much the Jews hate you." I think, wow, so you've lost the argument of Jewish nationalism.
We don't hate, this is people constantly tell Jews what Jews believe, what Jews do, what Jews think.
I've spoken to a lot of Jews, and I asked, hey, what do you think of Jesus Christ? Do you cool with him? Do you hate him? And they do, like Orthodox Jews have nothing but negative things to say about Jesus.
So what you have to understand is there's 2,000 years of living with Christians where it wasn't so great as it was today. And so there's two key opinions within the Jewish tradition. There's a rabbi called Yaakov Emden, and he says that the Trinity, that Christianity, it's not a problem, it's a monotheistic religion. On the other camp, you have rabbis predominantly from Muslim lands, and particularly the ones I follow actually, rabbis like Maimonides, who say because of the Trinity, Christianity should be considered a form of idolatry. So you've got two streams of thought within the Jewish tradition as to how to view the religion. Now, how individual Jews view Christians as a collective is based on a history of persecution. Yeah. But today, the overwhelming majority of Jews have no hard feelings to Christians whatsoever. We see them as cousins.
Tiger, you're not a Christian. I answer from the Christian side to Joseph.
Oh, right.
We have 2,000 years of history, and we have our own theological concerns.
It's more 2,000 years of brutal oppression towards us dudes.
History, and theologically we have issues around the Old Covenant, etc. But Christians, hear me out, Christians are taught love. We love our enemy. We love the Jewish people. And with the schism, some of the people who are anti-Jewish, anti-Christian say, hey, the Jews hate the Christians, and hey, look, Christians, look what they did to you. And Christians go, but we don't feel that way as Christians. We're taught to love first, right? Yeah. Which is quite very different.
I understand. I think the oppression was terrible, but I think, and I don't mean to pull the race card. I generally can't think of any other race. But there are a great deal of people from Africa who were brutally oppressed by Christians. I think, who's that? A Belgium guy came down saying, hey, we're going to teach you guys Christianity and we're going to help you guys out. They ended up killing 8 million of them over a course of 20 years. So I kind of think, is that really justified to kind of say nasty things to Jesus
so again,
and calling his mum a whore?
No Jews say that.
Oh, no, they are. Yeah, no, I've spoken to about 2 different Jewish guys and they said that, the three wise men were actually the fathers of Jesus. And Mary was.
Okay, I can't speak about your anecdotal experiences.
I don't mean to.
But we're, amongst educated Jews, the overwhelming majority of them will not say anything like that.
Can I ask you a simple suggestion here? Rather than third-party evidence, wouldn't it be better to ask Jewish people what they thought?
I have. I've asked several Jews, and they seem to say.
So you're speaking of Jew now. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Very cool Jew. Ralph is a Christian, yeah? It's absurd for me to hold Ralph accountable for the actions of probably not even his ancestors, at least on one side of the family. And so, okay. And so it's an absurdity to hold somebody today responsible for the sins of yesterday, unless they are still benefiting from those sins, which isn't the case in Christendom today. Like, the Inquisitions are ancient history. It was a horrible period, and the Spanish government and the Portuguese government to this day are now allowing Jews that were persecuted then, or the descendants, to return back there. So for any Jew who lives in the past, in my opinion, is mistaken. And I don't. And it's the same with Islam.
Do you condemn
Muslims
these Jews who bash Jesus?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So I'm just asking a question, Ralph.
So for me, I would say it's a stupid thing to do. It's an irresponsible thing to do. It's an incorrect thing to do. And so yeah, I'd be fully against that. And I would argue against any of them publicly, either on my channel or in the park, if they're bashing. In the same way, if someone's bashing Islam, Jews have been persecuted by many people. But today, we have an opportunity to build bridges and put the past and leave the past well and truly in the past. And so I think look forward rather than look back.
And you know, my frustration is I watch Joseph. Joseph might probably, if I'm lucky one day, will give me a debate on a Tuesday.
We can do that now.
Where do you guys stand on this?
Joseph will get us to give Islam a so he's constantly trying to find.
No, I love Joseph. I love him.
I mean, and the absurdity of that, if you watch the comments in any video I'm in, they're the most right. Joseph's a snake, Joseph. And it's like, it's insane. I'm literally, guys, I want to be a friend.
What percentage Ethiopian are you?
Pardon?
What percentage Ethiopian are you? And then they go, oh, he's not real Ethiopian, he's just a European. And it's just like, what's crazy is I've debated so many white nationalists about and the fact that they say that you guys aren't white. I find it crazy.
It's an argument no Jew should entertain. What colour are the only reason somebody brings up skin colour is to attack you. If they're on the left, it's to say you benefit from a privilege, and if they're on the right, it's to say you're not like us. We need to move beyond like skin pigment and focus on more.
Would you say that's made the Jewish community stronger by putting race to one side and putting culture ahead of that?
Yeah, I mean, on a communal level, yes, we see no difference between a Jew with dark skin and a Jew with light skin. You go to Israel, you'll see the full range of skin tones in and outside of the Jewish community. Are we alright? So are we recording?
It's just coming through one channel.
All that vegan fruit juice.
In the UK, all the banks are owned by the Quaker families, or they were set up by Quakers. Nobody ever talks about the Quaker control of the money supply in the UK. Two state, one state. Yeah.
Can I get in on this?
Yeah. Argument first. So, within Israel, West Bank, Gaza, legal and moral position. Already.
Sorry, I just damn free. No, carry on.
And so, what happened was the British, when they defeated the Ottomans, were awarded the mandate of what was called British Mandatory Palestine on the condition 75% of the land to the Arabs who created Jordan. So what remained should have been the Jewish state, but a civil war broke out, and after the civil war, basically the British said, we can't handle this infight between the Jews and the Arabs. We're going to give it to the United Nations to solve. The United Nations said, okay, this land that was supposed to be a Jewish state, we're now going to further divide and give more land to the Arabs. So Israel declared independence, and then 8 Arab armies invaded Israel and attacked it. Israel, so I'm just coming to my point. So I think Israel has a legal claim to that land and a moral claim to that land. We are the indigenous people there. However, fast forward, 71 years and today, you have a large Palestinian population that lives in the West Bank and Gaza who don't want to be part of an Israeli state. And if you force the Jews and the Arabs to live together in Israel, Gaza and the West Bank, rather than just the Jews and Arabs together in Israel, you're likely to see civil war, which is happening in Lebanon, which is happening in Syria. Wherever these borders were arbitrarily drawn around by colonial powers, what happened was civil war erupted. And so what I believe is the Arabs want a state called Palestine. So on the provision that they don't ethnically cleanse the Jews that live in the West Bank, and they establish a Palestinian state side by side next to the Jewish state, and Jews are allowed to live in the Arab state, just like Arabs today live in the Jewish state. 20% of Israel's population are Arabs. If that equality is there, I can back a two-state solution simply because I think it may bring about peace. However, there are many different solutions on the table, and any of them that bring about lasting peace between the Arabs and Jews that live there, I would fully support. I'm a peacenik.
I've heard things about the Golden Heights and the drilling in the Golden Heights. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
So the Golan Heights, when the Golan Heights was captured, it was captured for defensive position, for reasoning. Israel gave back Gaza in 2005 to what was then Fatah, and then was taken control of by Hamas. Since then, tens of thousands of rockets have been fired on Israel. One hit a religious school literally a couple of nights ago. And the Golan Heights is strategically elevated above Tel Aviv, and those rockets that are flying from Gaza would be mortars and rockets and missiles flying from Syria and Hezbollah, and it's a risk that Israel, down on Tel Aviv, which is a risk that Israel can't take. So it's a tiny, tiny strip of land, which just gives Israel a defensive barrier, which I support retaining the Golan Heights.
Here's my summary of the one-state solution, why I disagree with Joseph. I think Joseph is a wonderful example of a peacenik. I think he has the best interests of the Jewish and Palestinian people living together. I can understand his proposition to state that two secular or one Muslim Arab state with equal minority protection and one Jewish state with equal minority protection can live side by side. But I am a Christian realist. I believe in the global picture there is a larger war going on across the war between us and the Christian West and the Islamic other nations, and the security of Israel is non-negotiable. So we start with self-determination for the Jewish people. We don't waste our time with arguing the legitimacy. This is the only homeland the most persecuted tribe in the world has, and that's their land. I believe the safety and security of one-state solution, by removing it off the table, we've had 60 years of trying, repeatedly to compromise, and increasingly we've seen with all the Islamic terrorists that Israel cannot be left to a So I would rather err on the side of caution, create an Israel one-state, ethno-state with minority protection for the Arabs who live under the Jewish state, and then create a massive wall at the Golan Heights over to Israel and secure the whole land until the end. That's my argument. I would not risk the security of the Jewish state.
Should we move a bit over there? Cohen, it's going to pick these guys up. Leon, do you want us to move a bit over there so it doesn't pick these guys up?
Sorry.
There we go.
If I'm going to be honest, Joseph, I support Israel, and I just generally believe in the safety of its people. But it seems to me like, I actually agree with him. It seems to me you have a very kind of like, not to be rude, a hippie-ish kind of like, yeah, we can achieve this after, it's only 100 years. No, we'll get it right this time. Are you just trying to like, is it faith you have? Or?
No, it's pragmatism. It's and I'll put the question to both of you. There are millions of Arabs who identify as Palestinian that live in the West Bank, Israel and Gaza. What happens to those in your future one-state solution? The first question.
So my response to that would be simple. I think if we stamp down the first one single Israel solution, the Jewish people, the people who want to, let's call them Arabs for lack of a better word, those who wish to remain as first-class citizens in Israel should be allowed to, and those who will not should be financially incentivized, motivated to go to anywhere the Ummah will accept them, and that seems to be somewhere between Egypt and Jordan to split them up. If the Ummah wants them, then even if that means Israel gives them $100,000 each to go, the ones who want to stay should have first-class protection as Israeli citizens, but they cannot be Hamas charter types. Whatever it takes to steal them, they cannot be people with threats. They must be able to put on an IDF uniform.
So
they put on an IDF IDF uniform, they're Israelis.
And so to that point, there are millions of Arabs who descend from Palestinians who left in 1948 or 1967. Millions of them living around the Arab world today. They are denied citizenship. They are denied the right to access property. They are denied the right to education. They are kept as an actual second-class apartheid people within these Arab states, like in Lebanon is a great example. And so most Palestinians or Arabs that live in Arab countries today are denied citizenship. And there are literally laws on the books of these countries that deny. So my question to you is, why would the Ummah change its current stance if Arabs tried to relocate?
Well, I think you're right. They probably wouldn't in the balance of probabilities. I think the responsibility morally is are you saying I'm going to hedge the defense of these people's human rights against, on the other side, the inability of the other side to give them the rights. So it's a balance of risk, right? Would you say, even if 1% of them are hostile internally and you want to defend their human rights, so you're protecting them from the Ummah? I would say that's a very strange balance of risk.
No, so
and hold the other side responsible for their rights.
No, I absolutely, but there is no difference between an Arab from Jordan, many Arabs from Lebanon, many Arabs from Syria, and the Arabs that live in the West Bank, Gaza today, in Egypt. They're literally the same family.
Israel,
The second point is, so you're encouraging them or giving them reasons to leave.
Safe passage.
What if they don't want to?
Well, that's a question. Do they also want to accept being Israeli citizens? If they do not, then they're accepting explicitly that they're a fifth column, right? Explicitly saying, I won't leave, I want to remain, and I don't want to pay.
Well, I think that is the reality. The Arabs in East Jerusalem exactly marry what you've described.
What is it? I don't know why they'd want to leave. I mean, if they leave, then they'll just become second-class citizens in a nation that's continuously rejecting them.
No, I agree. Arabs in Israel have more freedom than anywhere else in the Middle East. And if you speak to any Israeli Arab, that's exactly what they'll tell you. Arabs.
How many of those would answer the polls? Do you want
how can this go wrong for the Israeli people?
What do you mean? How could it go wrong?
It seems like
So one of the reasons it could go wrong with Israel declared sovereignty over the West Bank and Gaza, you've got a very, very large population that have been killing each other for the last 71 years or 100 years. It's not suddenly Israel declares sovereignty and all that's going to be forgotten. There's a lot of bad blood. There's an awful lot of bad blood. However, if they were to accept Israeli sovereignty, I actually think that could be one of the better solutions.
Suppose that diaspora of Arabs living in Israel, given this choice, let's say an explicit choice to leave with safe passage, if they say no, would you accept that they are explicitly arguing the case for a fifth column? But they say, no, I don't want to leave Israel, I still want Palestine, and I'm not going to leave safely. To me, as a conservative right-wing Zionist, I would argue, no, in that case, you are an enemy combatant.
No, that's true, but I don't think any morally conscious person today should be exploring solutions which create millions of refugees, and that would be a potential reality of that decision.
It would be just like the other wars we seem to have done. The other wars we seem to have done. The thing what would apply is that any less or more morally, I understand the moral case for looking after them as human souls. I'm a Christian, I'd like to love them. But if they are explicitly stating they threaten the security of the Israeli state by, for example, still wanting a Palestine, suppose Israel declared a single state and they lived in there and they said, no, within Israel we want a Palestine. That's a fifth column.
But that's also, I'm a liberal, and I believe if an Israeli Christian, an Israeli Arab, an Israeli Marxist wants to pursue philosophical ideas, wants to pursue something, that's the right of any person. I don't believe the state should lock down on.
No, this is where I think the fault line is. It's simple. I think for me the argument is simple balance of risk. I think the liberals and good liberals, and I believe you're a liberal individualist about your position, would hope that the liberal safety and security, the liberal fabric of a secular Israeli state would maintain that problem, contain it, right? No different from England having jihadis running around, for example. We can contain it using English liberal laws, right? For now. We can contain them for now. But the question then just becomes, is that the solution? So for you, it seems like your two-state solution hinges on that, where the one-state solution has a one-time awkwardness of a potential refugee crisis, for the West is guaranteed.
Although
Yeah,
Israel has also struck peace with its Arab neighbours. So Israel has peace with Egypt, Israel has peace with Jordan, and so I think both are. This is why I'm solution agnostic. So if the one-state solution brought about peace, I'd support it. The two-state solution brought about peace, I'd support it. And I'll give two reasons on both. So if the Palestinian state was created and the Jews weren't ethnically cleansed from the land, there is definitely the potential that Israel could strike peace with its Arab neighbours, because Israel is increasingly making great inroads into the Arab world. Egypt, exactly. We've had state visits to Oman, we've got talks with Saudi Arabia, we've got like the entire the landscape of the Middle East is changing. So that is a potential possibility. On the flip side, we only need to look at the Arabs who live in Israel today, who are proud to live in Israel, who serve in the IDF, who enjoy having the freedoms, who enjoy having the political freedom that they have. Like, I've got so many Druze friends, as an example, who are bigger Zionists than most of the Jews that I know. They serve in the army, they love the country, and it's because it's the country in the world where the Druze are the most free. And so it's also equally possible that if Israel created a one-state solution, that the Arabs who live within that one-state solution would live like Israeli Arabs today and would be content. Most of the pressure doesn't come from the Palestinians, it comes from the outside world putting pressure on the Palestinian Arabs.
Given the rise of both general Islamic militarism, but also anti-Semitism as well rise, just look at it here, it's rising everywhere as measured by lots of metrics. You think that, to me, it would be safety and security first. And the question is, can time run out? It doesn't run out the clock. So my view would be, and I'm ultra-Zionist friend, to say, look, another 50, 20 years, if we could just mesh up the West Bank, it's impossible to have a two-state solution. We can accelerate this idea of how long are we going to keep talking about this conflict?
There's different types.
We can accelerate ourselves into a one-state
One of the things that I've got lots of friends who are alternative peace activists, and one of the most interesting things is when you speak to them, they'll just say they're right-wing settlers that live but have many Palestinian friends and work towards peace. And they'll say, we just want our governments to be honest. Like, if our government has the intention of annexing the West Bank and declaring sovereignty over it to the international audience, just say so publicly. If not, say so publicly. But and I think there's too much politics on both sides. Governments, people on the ground, there just needs to be more honesty about what are the intentions. Like there's huge infrastructure in the West Bank now, like Israeli infrastructure, road networks, electricity, and it does send mixed messages to the Palestinians. I accept that, and so I think there's many demands that can be made of the government, but the reality is there are infinite peace potentials for peace, and each one of them has serious risks involved with it. So a one-state solution has a serious risk. So he's putting the fifth column argument, which he didn't put forward, the Egyptians put forward. The president of Egypt in the 70s, I can't remember if it was Nasser, he turned around and he said, and he literally said, well, the Palestinians that would remain in a one-state solution would be a fifth column and threaten the existence of Israel. So there is so much complexity on both sides. There isn't a simple solution, otherwise we would have arrived at it. But I think the main thing I would emphasize is any solution, be it a two-state or one-state solution, that either creates Jewish refugees from the West Bank or Palestinian Arab refugees from the West Bank, is not a moral solution. We should not be creating refugees today. We only need to look at the mess that Syria has created and any conflict. Like the last time the refugees were created, it was 48, and we're still like arguing over the right to the return and various other things. And the Jewish refugees from the Arab world, 1 million Jews were driven from the Arab world. Millions of Jews were slaughtered in the Holocaust.
No,
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely not. It's not the people listening. I've never heard a better articulation of Islamic peace. I've never heard so many people claim that Joseph is out to kill them all. And to people who say I'm out to kill all the Muslims, you should listen to Joseph and not me. That's a great articulation. I beg to defer, and I still.
And everyone read the comments below. It's going to be Joseph's a snake, Joseph's a rat, Joseph's a dirty Jew, Joseph controls the bank, and I only control Goldman Sachs.
And ironically, I'm a Nazi talking on the side.
Yeah, a brown-skinned Nazi.
I am also a Nazi.
That I believe.
I want a mixed race ethno state all across Europe. It's going to be called Tiger Reich. Tiger Reich. It's the final Reich.
I'm going to refer you to it.
No, he's not a Nazi.
No, I'm not a Nazi.
You're not a Nazi fan?
No, I'm not a fan. They're not very nice.
Come take over everything from your Berlin.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
I used to stand up at Speaker's Corner here from 1986. And idiots used to turn around to me and say, why don't you go to Moscow? Why don't you go to East Germany? So I did. I moved in 1988 to West Berlin, and 1989 I went over the